7 Sinister High School Horror Tales. Discover the terrifying footsteps in haunted hallways. Jamie felt a chill run down her spine as she stood at the rusting gates of Echo Ridge High. Her heart raced like a scattergun, every beat reverberating through her bones. The abandoned building loomed before them, its broken windows like hollow eyes watching their every move, pronounced shadows stretching across the overgrown grass. Once filled with laughter and song, now it echoed with sorrow and horror. Fear danced in the air, thick enough to slice. "Nothing will happen." Mike laughed, his voice booming with bravado, but Jamie felt the weight of unspoken stories clinging to her like a shadow. This wasn't just an old school, it was a grave wrapped in the guise of education. Every ghost story they'd ever heard, every chill in the air magnified as they stepped across the threshold, leaving behind the warm daylight for the creeping darkness of the unknown. Inside, the air turned stale, hanging heavy with whispered gasps. Faded lockers lined the corridors, each scratched metal surface an echo of students long forgotten. "Look!" Lily shouted, pointing her phone's camera at the peeling posters once bright and welcoming, now yellowed and pleading for mercy. They laughed, but the laughter felt strained. Each footstep they took reverberated in the emptiness, like heartbeats echoing in a void. Suddenly, a noise, a sharp, relentless thud. Jamie jumped, her nerves on edge. It wasn't just their voices that filled this place, it was something else, something darker. "Just the wind," Mike muttered, but the wind had a voice, a low growl that whispered secrets and veiled threats. Before they could settle into their excitement, shadows began to twist and writhe, and the atmosphere thickened, closing in on them. A draft swept through the hallway, causing the hair on the back of Jamie's neck to stand on end. Then there were footsteps, not theirs. The sound of hurried, desperate steps echoed behind them. Jamie turned, her heart pounding, but there was nothing, just silence. "Hey, did you guys hear that?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. But as her friends shrugged it off, Jamie tightened her grip on her phone. It felt like a lifeline in these haunted halls. "Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." "Now let's continue." They pressed on, Jamie's breath quickening, the air growing heavy with dread. Each step unveiled more eerie occurrences, scribbled messages carved into the walls, remnants of fear and regret, and sighs that hung in silence. Then came Lily's scream, breaking the tension, a piercing sound that shattered their momentary thrill. "It's just a rat." Mike laughed nervously, but Jamie knew they had crossed a threshold into something sinister. Lily, however, had turned pale, eyes wide with terror. Footsteps resumed, growing louder, a desperate patter of souls lost in time. Jamie felt her own heartbeat mingle with the echoes, each pulse urging them to flee. But then, like the flickering of an old movie reel, Lily's voice rang out from deeper within the school. "Guys! Help!" Panic seized Jamie and the group. They rushed toward the sound, but the corridor twisted, shifting beneath their feet. And there was a looming realization they were no longer in control. As darkness constricted around them, Jamie's heart pounded violently. Where was Lily? And why did it feel like the school itself was a predator, hunting them down? The walls felt alive, pressing against them, and Jamie knew they had awakened something they couldn't understand. The real horror had just begun. They hurried down the corridor, the flickering light above casting frantic shadows on the walls that seemed to whisper in teasing tones. Jamie's heart raced, echoing with every frantic footstep. "Lily," she called, her voice trembling. "Where are you?" Silence answered, but the shadows encroached, wrapping around them like a living shroud. Jamie felt the chill in the air intensify, an invisible hand tightening around her throat. The draft whipped cold gusts against their skin, and the gallery of faded lockers now looked like grave markers, silent witnesses to their impending doom. "Keep moving," Mike shouted, though his bravado seemed to waver. The shadows swelled in protest, groaning low. Jamie could almost feel the walls pulse, as if the building itself were alive with dark intent. The once clear path twisted gruesomely, doors that had once beckoned stood strangely ajar, showing glimpses into darkness where none should have existed. "Maybe we should split up," Sarah suggested, her voice cutting through the gloom. It was a suggestion born not of courage but desperation. "No," Jamie's voice burst out. "We find Lily together. We can't leave anyone behind." They reached an intersection of corridors, darkness lounged heavily in the corners, and the low thuds had intensified now, morphing into a sinister cadence. A flicker caught Jamie's attention. Was that a shadow? No, a figure, a girl, hunched and twitching, standing at the end of the hall. "Lily?" Jamie's breath caught in her throat. She took a hesitant step closer. But the figure turned, and what Jamie saw wasn't her friend. A grotesque mockery of a girl stared back, eyes wide and empty, a mouth contorted in a silent scream. It wasn't Lily. The skin was pallid, stretched too tight over bone, giving a sharp, eerie gleam in the dimness. "Run!" Mike yelled, dragging Jamie back just as the apparition lunged forward, shrieking. They collided into the walls, and Jamie felt the cold bite of metal against her skin. "Go! Now!" They tore down the corridor, desperate to escape, the thing's scream echoing behind them like a death knell. Jamie glanced back and saw the shadow slither closer, its shape distorting as it chased them. "Why is this happening?" Sarah cried, the panic thickening her voice. "What is that thing?" "I don't know." Jamie shouted back, but the truth hung heavy on her heart. They had awakened something beneath the dust and the sorrow. Something that should have been left buried. They burst into the gymnasium, where the storm of memories washed over them, shouts of laughter, the echo of basketballs bouncing against the floor. Now, it was a vast, empty abyss. Dust hung like a veil in the air. "Where do we go?" Mike shouted. Shadows flickered in the corners, watching with sinister intent. There was a door, another route, perhaps a way out. "Over there." Jamie pointed. They rushed toward it, feet pounding against the floor, but in their haste, they failed to notice the flickering lights above them brightening ominously. With a sudden slam, the door swung shut as they approached, locking them inside the dark maw of the gym. Jamie turned, heart pounding. Outside, the sinister laughter echoed, mingling with Lily's fading voice calling for help. "What now?" Sarah whimpered, tears of fear gleaming in her eyes. "Find a way out," Mike shouted, desperation fueling his resolve. They split again, searching the dim corners of the gym. But as they did, the lights dimmed one final time, plunging them into total darkness. The last echo of Lily's voice died away, and a solid silence fell, broken only by the sound of heavy breathing and the low hiss of something creeping closer in the dark. Next chapter beckoned, full of unimaginable dread. What was really lurking inside Echo Ridge High? And would they find Lily, or was she lost forever in the shadows? The darkness pressed in on them, thick and suffocating. Jamie felt as if the shadows had come alive, eager to snatch them away into a nightmare they couldn't escape. Her heart thudded in her chest, a wild animal trapped and desperate. "Mike?" Jamie whispered, voice barely audible. In response, she heard only the hollow sound of her breath, echoing back at her from the unseen walls. "Sarah? Over here." Sarah's voice came from the left, quavering with fear. "Stay close," Jamie urged, fumbling towards the sound as if she were navigating through murky water, each move weighed down by dread. A sudden crash shattered the silence. Jamie jumped, spinning around to see a basketball rolling across the floor, an eerie remnant of their past. The gym, once filled with laughter and camaraderie, now felt like a tomb. She wanted to scream but swallowed the sound, fighting to keep panic at bay. Did we lock that door? Mike's voice cut through the tension, but it shrilled with uncertainty. We didn't touch it. Jamie shot back. Their breath quickened, a shared panic rising like smoke in the cramped space. Maybe we can find a window? Sarah suggested, but her voice trembled, revealing her doubt. None of that matters if that thing finds us. Mike's words hung heavily in the air. The thing. Jamie squeezed her eyes shut, trying to dispel the horror from her thoughts, trying to imagine this was all just a dream. But the cold bite of fear anchored her feet to the floor, every corner of the gym draped in oppressive silence. Suddenly, the lights flickered again, the fluorescent buzz wrapping around them like a noose before dimming into near-total darkness again. Shadows pulsed and writhed, and Jamie felt fear reaching out, fingers grasping at her throat, pushing the air from her lungs. We have to move. She instinctively grabbed Mike's arm, and together they groped blindly through the gym. They stumbled over lost equipment, each noise magnifying their tension. Then, out of the suffocating shadows, a shriek pierced the night, shrill and animalistic. It clawed at their ears, forcing them to halt in their tracks. Is that Lily? Sarah shouted over the scream. No. Mike yelled, pulling Sarah close. That's not. The air changed then, thick with something akin to rancid flesh, and Jamie could feel it creeping closer. In the darkness, they gathered in a tight circle, back pressed against back, hearts thudding in synchrony, like a morbid drumbeat. A click sounded nearby, a latch freeing itself. The other door? No. Jamie's mind raced, pulse quickening as the shadows chewed away at their resolve. She strode towards the sound, reaching out into the murk, testing every inch of space as if aiming to tame the darkness. Wait! Mike hissed, pulling her back just as light flared to life, illuminating the room in a sterile glow. They whipped around, breathless and wide-eyed. Is that? Sarah's voice faded. The outline of a figure flickered across the wall, a silhouette warped and twisted. Its eyes, glowing with malicious intent, focused on each of them. It stepped closer, the laughter morphing into jagged gasps, drowning their hearts in terrifying despair. I don't want to die here, Jamie squeaked, the weight of reality crashing down on her. We won tea. Mike growled, though his voice trembled. We're getting out of this. With every ounce of determination, they turned towards the infernal glow, standing their ground. But just as the figure lunged, the lights plunged once more into darkness, leaving only the sound of guttural breathing, closer than before what was lurking just beyond their sight. And could they outsmart whatever hunted them in the depths of Echo Ridge? Their breaths were shallow and quick, a measure of fear echoing in the silence. Jamie's heart raced as the guttural sounds grew nearer, crawling beneath her skin like 1,000 insects. Mike's grip on her wrist was the only anchor in the free-fall of dread that threatened to swallow them whole. Listen. Jamie whispered, panic lacing her words. Can you hear it? They huddled closer, the cold air wrapping around them. The breathing was heavy, labored, a living thing pressing against their backs. With a sudden surge of desperation, she shouted, "Who's there?" The only response was the crackle of the lights as they flickered once more into life. But this time, it wasn't complete darkness that enveloped them, it was a ghostly glow that revealed the swirling mist, thick and unnatural. Jamie's blood ran cold, the figure emerged, not more than a foot away. It was a child. Or was it? The face twisted in a grimace, eyes hollow, reflecting an anguish that sent a chill straight to her very soul. Lily. Sarah gasped, voice breaking. Is that you? The child nodded, but the face twisted into a grin that didn't belong on such innocent features. Help me. The voice was soft but chilled the air around them. Help me play. Mike echoed, confusion momentarily overshadowing his fear. What do you mean? Play forever. It took a faltering step closer, and the air thickened, a stench of decay slithering around them. Jamie squeezed her eyes shut. Don't listen to it. She yelled, panic breaking her composure. We have to get out. Now. As she opened her eyes, the child was gone, but the unmistakable laughter of children filled the gym, echoing off the walls. It was Sinister, mocking a taunt slithering through the shadows. Where did it go? Sarah whimpered, fear pooling in her eyes. Did you see what it looked like? Mike's voice trembled. That's not Lily, do you think? Jamie breathed, her mind racing. The tales, the whispers from other students. Ghosts of Echo Ridge High, trapped forever. What if they're all trying to get us? The laughter intensified, filling every crevice of the old gym with haunting notes. A spark of resolve ignited in Jamie's chest. We have to find a way out, a whispering sound, like a multitude of voices, intertwined with the laughter. Stay forever. What if we're too late? What if we don't? Sarah's voice faltered. No. We will not let this place take us. Mike shouted, determination propelling him forward. He grabbed Jamie's arm. We need to find a way to break whatever spell this is. Look! Jamie cried, pointing toward far left end of the gym. An opening appeared, a narrow passageway leading into darkness that somehow beckoned them. We can try there. With a collective nod, they moved toward it, each step feeling like walking on a knife's edge. Voices followed them, whispering sweetly horrific truths. Shadows crept along the walls, threatening to snatch them at any given moment. Suddenly, one of the shadows lunged forward, a figure blurring into shape with eyes burning like coals. Come play with us forever. With adrenaline surging, Jamie broke into a sprint towards the passageway, dragging Mike and Sarah along. The pursuit grew closer, footfalls echoing behind them, dragging the sound of laughter that echoed like a death knell. They reached the opening, breathless and terrified. What awaited just beyond? There was no turning back now. Would it lead to freedom? Or deeper into the twisted nightmares woven into the fabric of Echo Ridge? As they crossed the threshold, the laughter turned to wails, a chilling promise of entrapment echoing in the air. What lay in the darkness ahead? They could not yet fathom the weight of the horror they were running toward. The darkness swallowed them whole as they slipped through the threshold. A heavy silence met them, oppressive and thick, wrapping around their bodies like a shroud. The soft glow of the gym faded behind them, and the shadows surged forward, eager to consume. Where are we? Sarah's voice broke the silence, trembling in fear. No idea, Jamie whispered, her heartbeat pounding in her ears. In front of them, the narrow passageway twisted and turned, seeming to go on for miles. Flickering lights above cast eerie shadows that danced along the damp walls, like ghostly fingers reaching out to grab them. Keep moving. Mike urged, forcing them to push forward. Each footstep echoed ominously, drowning out the laughter that still lingered in their minds. They stumbled deeper into the unknown, the air growing colder with each step. It felt alive, pulsating around them, and stirred an instinctive dread that clawed at their insides. The path twisted again, opening into a larger room. They entered with caution. To their horror, it wasn't barren. Desks were scattered haphazardly, the remnants of a once vibrant classroom now reduced to a sinister display of shadow and memory. Paint peeled from the walls, revealing crudely painted murals of children playing swing sets, merry-go-rounds, laughter captured in faded strokes. Yet, the faces were wrong, twisted into expressions of fear and despair. What happened here? Sarah's eyes darted around the room, glimmers of hope extinguished by the oppressive air. They were taken, Jamie breathed, her stomach churning. Just like us. The sound of giggles crept back into the room, echoing eerily as if coming from inside the very walls. The laughter layered over each other, a chorus of distorted voices that filled the air with a sense of foreboding. The once innocent sound twisted into something grotesque, echoing through the very essence of the room. We can't stay, Mike said, his voice barely above a whisper. We need to find a way out. Just then, a new sound pierced the air, a soft knock, rhythmic and deliberate. It came from the far side of the room, hidden behind a curtain that hung limply, stained and torn. The three exchanged glances, fear gripping their hearts. "What is that?" Sarah asked, her feet rooted in place. I don't know, but it can't be good." Jamie's voice trailed off as the knocking intensified. It became frantic, and the curtain swayed as if something from behind was trying to break free. "Run!" Mike shouted, and they pivoted, racing back to the passageway leading deeper into the building. Jamie felt the heat of breath on her neck, hot and reeking of decay, sending her adrenaline spiraling. They dashed back through the twisting corridors, the shadows morphing into nightmarish shapes that lunged at them. The laughter turned to cries, echoes of the children now filled with rage and pain. "Stay with us, play forever." Jamie's stomach tight with fear, she shouted without turning. "We want to play. We just want to leave." The corridor narrowed, the walls closing in, whispering secrets only the shadows could hear. The ceiling seemed to drop lower, and the air grew thick, suffocating. Jamie could feel the shadows reaching, gripping her, tugging at her ankles. "Keep moving." She heard Mike shout, but the shadows thickened, growing stronger. The whispers turned into screams, a cacophony urging them to stop, to surrender. Then, as if the knot of horrors had reached a climax, the passage split into two different paths. Both wore the same facade of deathly silence. The voices from one side seemed playful, whispering sweet promises of everlasting joy. The other was dark and foreboding, echoing distant cries of despair. "What do we do?" Jamie's heart raced, panic swirling within her. "Which way?" Sarah's voice trembled, desperation clawing at her words. In the end the choice would determine who would stay, Jamie thought, a heavy weight settling in her gut. As they hesitated, the wailing intensified, coming from both paths, a sinister reminder that the horrors did not care which choice they made. "To the right?" Mike suggested. But his voice quivered with uncertainty. "Or the left?" Could they trust their instincts, or was choosing a path only leading deeper into the nightmare? Behind them, the laughter returned, now mixed with sobs, as the shadows danced forward, hungry and waiting. "Then we run!" Jamie yelled. They bolted toward the path, not knowing what awaited them at the end. But the path twisted in ways they could never anticipate, spiraling deeper into the darkness where the real horrors lurked. What unseen fate awaited them? Would they find solace or plunge further into madness? They plunged into the left corridor, breathless, hearts pounding against their ribs like caged animals desperate for freedom. The moment they crossed the threshold, the change in atmosphere was palpable. The air was thicker, heavier. Whispers danced around them, curling at the edges of their consciousness, teasing them with words they couldn't quite hear. "Faster!" Mike urged, his voice strained, pushing them onward. The floor beneath them seemed to pulse, as if alive, a heartbeat syncing with their own frantic energy. The walls appeared to shift, the faded graffiti morphing into haunting faces that seemed to peer into their souls, a museum of agony and memories long past. "Those faces," Jamie murmured, but the sound was swallowed by a sudden swell of laughter. It was high-pitched, gleeful, echoing from the blackness ahead. It grew louder, each giggle sending icy tendrils up their spines. "We have to keep going," Sarah yelled, a desperate note creeping into her voice as she stumbled, nearly tripping over something unseen. A glance over her shoulder revealed a dark shape flickering just beyond the reach of the dim light. Fear gripped her gut. "Did you see that?" she gasped. Mike's gaze shot back, eyes wide, but Jamie felt it too, a movement darting between shadows, something perpetually just out of view. They hurried forward, adrenaline fueling their legs, but the laughter morphed into something chilling, a cacophony that echoed with mockery, taunting their every step. "Why won't they stop?" Jamie hissed, feeling the air grow colder around them. "The exit at south got to be close." Mike replied, but his voice trembled, uncertainty looming like a storm cloud. They turned a corner, and before them lay another door, slightly ajar, darkness spilling out like ink, inviting yet menacing. The laughter crescendoed, a haunting chorus as if calling them in, promising salvation or perhaps something far worse. "What if it's a trap?" Sarah whispered, her voice quaking. I don't know, but we need to make a choice, Jamie said, dread washing over her. They shared glances filled with torment, every second dragged, the laughter beckoning them greedily. Let us check it out, Mike resolved, desperation mingling with courage as he reached for the door handle. As he pulled it open, a rush of cold air hit them, smelling of mold and something more rancid, something that felt like decay. The laughter faded momentarily, replaced by a low breathing sound, deep and resonant, like something waiting just beyond the threshold. Mike, wait. Jamie reached out, but too late. He pushed the door fully open, and the sound erupted. The laughter returned, ringing in their ears like shattered glass. Inside was a room filled with old toys, bears with matted fur, dolls with missing eyes, and a tattered swing draped limply from the ceiling. The walls were decorated with childish drawings, but all the images had twisted smiles, grotesque and unwelcoming. This isn't right. Sarah's words echoed her growing fear as they stepped cautiously inside. Suddenly, the door slammed behind them, plunging them into near darkness, the faint flicker of lights now gone. Panic surged in Jamie's chest as she turned to the door, pushing desperately against it. Open it! Open it! She screamed, but it held fast, an unyielding barrier. The laughter morphed once again, now layered with sinister whispers. Stay and play forever. They felt the temperature drop further, their breaths visible, swirling in the icy air. What is this place? Mike gasped, eyes darting around wildly. They heard shuffling sounds in the shadows, remnants of movement lurking just beyond their vision. The space began to feel smaller, the walls inching closer, a trap closing in. Now it's time to play. The voice intoned, clear and echoing, chilling them to the bone. A figure emerged from the corner, cloaked in shadow, sprouting limbs that should not have existed. It laughed softly, a sound that split the air like a knife. What will we play first? It asked, revealing a grin that sent shudders through their bodies. Frozen between fight or flight, Jamie felt a chilling realization settle over her. What if they couldn't escape? The question screamed in her mind, the laughter erupting anew. Their time was running out, they needed to act or be trapped forever. Jamie's eyes met Mike's, fear and determination mingling within them. We can't die here, we want to let it take us. But just as they steeled themselves for a move, the laughter intensified, drowning out their thoughts. The shadows grew thicker, hungry, and so very close. Which would break first, their will to survive or the darkness aiming to consume them whole? Jamie's heart raced as the figure's grin widened, revealing teeth that looked sharper than any human's. The shadows writhed around it, pulsing like a living thing, and the laughter echoed, bouncing off the walls with a manic delight. Playtime is so much more fun with friends, it cooed, its voice dripping with mockery. The dissonance between its cheerful tone and the malice behind it was unbearable. Mike stepped forward, fists clenched, but Jamie grabbed his arm, pulling him back. No. We need to think. She yelled, trying to drown out the mounting panic. The air felt thickened with dread, wrapping around them like a suffocating fog. The figure took a step towards them, and with each movement, the toys around them began to stir. The dolls blinked their empty eyes, and the bears shifted, slowly tilting their heads as if they were coming to life. What game should we play? The figure chirped, eyes gleaming with devilish anticipation. It extended a long, bony finger toward the mismatched collection of toys. Guess which one is hiding the secret? Or shall we play hide and seek in the dark? Jamie's mind raced, frantic for an escape. They couldn't fall for its games. Let us just find a way out. She shouted, desperately trying to rally her friends. The door. Mike cried out, darting back toward it, but when he reached the place where it had stood, it was gone. In its place, a smooth wall loomed, cold and unyielding. What? No. It was right here. The laughter erupted again, howling and ringing, making the room feel alive with despair. Jamie spun around, dropping into a crouch as a surge of hopelessness washed over her. It took the door. she gasped. A flurry of angry whispers erupted from the shadows, converging around them. Playtime. Playtime. They chimed, each repetition digging deeper into Jamie's mind, stirring up her worst fears. We can't break, she yelled, refusing to let despair wash over her completely. We stick together. We'll figure something out. Suddenly, shadows lunged from the corners of the room, long arms reaching out to snatch them. Jamie swung around, instinct taking over, and she shoved Mike out of the way just as a dark limb rushed past him. Run! Sarah screamed, and without hesitation, they all took off in the opposite direction from the figure, dodging and weaving between the creeping shadows. Each step felt like a gamble against the unseen menace grasping at their feet. They stumbled to a corner where the grotesque drawings adorned the wall, twisted scenes of children playing with dismembered dolls and bears with one eye. Sarah froze, pointing at the wall. What if we disrupt the drawing? Maybe it's the key. As Jamie instinctively reached out and clawed at the sticky paper, she felt a rush and electric thrill with each shred that came free. But the laughter roared, furious now, shaking the very bones of the room. The shadows writhed, becoming agitated, and the figure screamed, "Stop! You mustn't do that!" They pressed on, tearing at the edges of the grotesque scenes, releasing frayed papers that fluttered like trapped birds. Each piece that fell brought with it a glowing light that began to seep through the shadows, tearing holes into the darkness. "We're onto something!" Mike shouted, pulling Sarah along as they tore through as fast as they could, feeling the weight of the creature's malice pressing down on them. But adrenaline could only carry them so far. Suddenly, it happened. The laughter shifted, deepened into something guttural and cruel. "You think you can escape?" The entity bellowed, and the lights dimmed, snuffing their last hope out as the shadows coalesced into a suffocating blanket. And then the floor beneath them began to tremble violently, sending them sprawling. Jamie felt cold fingers scratch at her ankle. Desperation clawed at her throat. "Keep going. We have to find another way," Jamie urged, scrambling to her feet. But the darkness was rising. An abyss looming behind them, bound to consume everything. What if we get separated? Sarah's voice broke through the cacophony around them. Filled with dread. "There's no time." Mike yelled back, his eyes wild with panic, the shadows inching ever closer. As the floor bucked like a sea of waves, and the ceiling lurched downward, Jamie felt herself getting pulled under by the weight of shadows rushing in. "This isn't over." She screamed, grasping Mike's sleeve, holding him tight. But would holding on to each other be enough? Would they finish what they started or be lost to the darkness forever? The echo of their gasps turned into a chant, whispering in unison with the laughter, "Only one can survive." As the world around them collapsed into chaos, Jamie felt her grip slip. Would she lose everything? And in a panic-stricken moment, with shadows closing in, they had to make a choice. Who would they leave behind? The answer loomed closer, wrapped in dread, promising a revelation, but which would be the last truth they'd ever face? The darkness crashed around them, a tidal wave of shadows swallowing the remnants of the light. Jamie's heart thundered in her chest, pounding as if it would burst free of her ribcage. With every flicker of her resolve, the darkness clawed back, eager to snuff out any hope. "Hold on!" Jamie yelled, pulling Mike and Sarah close. She felt their bodies trembling against hers, the cold air slick with terror. Behind them, the entity twisted in glee, feeding off their fear, its grin stretching impossibly wide, revealing teeth that glimmered with malice. As the trembling ground bucked beneath their feet, Jamie could see glimpses of bright colors swirling in the air, remnants of the torn drawings hanging like forgotten memories. They emitted flickers of light, spreading warmth through the icy grip of dread, but not enough to stave off the encroaching shadows. "Where do we go?" Sarah shouted, scanning the room in desperation. The walls pulsed with a heartbeat that matched the rhythm of their fear. Jamie's mind raced, desperate for ideas. What if there was something in the artwork, something they hadn't noticed before? Those drawings, Jamie said, her voice cutting through the chaos. They show them playing with us. Let us just find more. Mike roared. The three darted toward the mural, the scrawled figures appearing to shift under their frantic movements. The colors bent, twisted like vines suffocating hope, and suddenly, the ground beneath Jamie's feet shifted again, an angry rumble signaling danger. Stay together, whispered Jamie, gripping Mike's arm tightly. They inched closer to a drawing depicting a child laughing, a doll's stuffed arm wrapped around the child's waist. It felt sickly sweet, like poison disguised as sugar. But something drew them in. Was it because of fear or the possibility of salvation? As Jamie brushed her fingers against the paper, she heard the sound of giggling echo from the depths of the shadows, luring her closer. With one swift motion, Jamie tore off a larger piece, sunlight spilling from it like a gushing wound. The shadows recoiled, wailing as the light sliced through, creating a narrow path leading deeper into the chaos. Quick! This way! She encouraged, but as they ran, the shadows grabbed at their heels. Each tainted whisper flicked at her sanity, threatening to breathe life into her worst nightmares. Yet the light felt different now. With every step forward, it pulsed, almost alive, urging them on. Hurry! Jamie yelled, adrenaline spiking as the shadows surged behind them, a dark wave crashing against the glimmer of hope. As they dove through the flickering stream of light, Jamie felt a sudden pull, causing her to stumble, but the others kept moving. No! Don't stop! She shouted, but then the ground pulsed again, and Jamie fell backward, her fingers slipping from Mike's grip. Jamie! Sarah screamed, but the shadows swallowed her cry. The walls twisted, folding in on themselves in a nightmarish dance. Panic surged through Jamie as she wrestled against the darkness sprawling around her, wrapping tighter like a noose. She could see Mike and Sarah only just ahead. We can't leave you! Mike yelled, extending a hand, but the shadows tore at her body, threatening to pull her apart. In a desperate grasp at survival, Jamie fought back, yelling with everything she had. Keep going. I'll find my way. For a breathless second, their eyes met, the desperation in Mike's gaze mirrored her own, raw and fearful. Then they were gone, swallowed by the shimmering light as Jamie felt the shadows drag her under, deeper into the abyss. Her body flailed, entangled in the dark, and a chill rose to her spine as jagged whispers filled the void around her. Only one can survive, they hissed, bringing clarity to her breathless dread. Fear turned to rage. Why should it take them? She would fight. But even in that moment, the truth washed over her like ice. In this game, in this madness, surrender was the only choice they might have. She closed her eyes, focusing on the light ahead, a flickering promise amidst the chaos engulfing her. But then came another whisper, more chilling than the rest. What if you were meant to be alone? What if the real game has only just begun? As she felt herself drifting deeper into the darkness, Jamie realized something horrifying. This was only the beginning. What would she face when the last flicker of light disappeared? The void gripped Jamie, spinning her into a whirlwind of shadows with no end in sight. She gasped, panic slicing through her like a knife. Heart racing, she fought against the invisible tendrils that curled tightly around her limbs. Each breath felt labored, shrouded in a pungent stench of decay, as unseen eyes watched her struggle. Jamie! A distant voice echoed, scratched and distorted. The sound felt both familiar and alien as it bounced off the walls of darkness. Desperation clawed at her throat. Mike? Sarah? Were they still fighting, still alive? But she couldn't dwell on them. The whispers grew louder, mocking her resolve. Alone only one can survive. It seeped into her skin, chilling her bones, intensifying her fear. She was aware of the darkness lounging around her alive, pulsing, eager. Focusing, she opened her eyes, willing herself to remember the glow, the warmth of the light they had chased. It flickered dimly somewhere beyond the shadows, taunting her with its promise of hope. She pushed herself to move, body straining against the darkness, reaching for that beacon. Suddenly, something shifted. The air quaked as the shadows formed a solid mass, a grotesque figure contorting into shapes that defied nature. It towered over Jamie, its features swirling like smoke, a hideous parody of a smile etched across its face. "Feed me your fear," it hissed, a voice that dripped with malice. Jamie collapsed to the ground, hands pressing against the cold stone beneath her, breaths hitching. "No!" She choked, forcing her voice to rise above the agony. "You want to take me?" As if heeded, the shadows recoiled slightly. Thinking quickly, she recalled the artwork, the child laughing, the light that had momentarily pierced the black. Frantically, her hands searched the darkness, brushing against something rough and fragile. A scrap of paper. It felt warm, pulsing, as if it were a heartbeat against her palm. With a surge of hope, she clutched it tightly, and a light sparked. The shadows shrieked, a symphony of agony and rage as the warmth spread from her fingertips. She closed her eyes, envisioning the vibrant mural, the laughter, the innocence, the joy. "Together!" she shouted into the void. "We play together!" The light intensified, and Jamie pushed it outward. Images erupted around her children's joyful faces, glowing toys, and bright colors that struck her like a wave. The entity faltered, dark fingers twitching, its glee replaced by confusion. "No! You cannot!" It shrieked, and she felt it stumble, the darkness quivering. "Come on!" she yelled, pressing forward. "We're stronger than you!" As she stretched out the artwork, a force gripped her ankle, and she stumbled. Terror threatened to drag her down again, but she fought, refusing to relent. "We want to let you win." With a roar, she hurled the paper into the void, a blinding flash exploding between them. The creature writhed in anger, shadows collapsing around it, thrashing wildly. Jamie felt an exhilarating rush as warmth enveloped her, pulling her up and away from the fear that clawed at her. But at that moment, she heard it, a faint giggle, distant and mocking. No longer alone in her fight, but not entirely free either. The light pulsed, but darkness still loomed at the edges, creeping, intent on dragging her back. "What do you want?" she yelled, voice breaking amidst the chaos. "They couldn't play this game forever. Isolation is inevitable, Jamie," the shadows hissed, taunting. "You'll always be alone." She felt a knot in her stomach. Was there truth in the whispers? The darkness pressed closer, shadows stretching, a dance of despair. "Are you ready for the next twist?" The voices echoed, delighting in her conflict. As Jamie fought to hold on to the light, the last flicker began to wane. Would it be enough to keep the shadows at bay, or was her fate sealed in their embrace? She took a deep breath, grounding herself. "I want to let you win," she declared, even as it felt like the ground beneath her crumbled. Yet just as resolve ignited within her, the walls shook, and she glimpsed something beyond them. Flickering light, an invitation, a choice, a shadowy fork in her path. What awaited her there? A way to freedom or deeper into the abyss? The true nightmare was just beginning, and the shadows were eager to claim their prize. The darkness receded like a tide, revealing a narrow escape path illuminated by flickering light. Jamie's heart thumped in her chest, each beat echoing her desperate hope. She squinted into the dim luminescence, barely able to see where it led but certain she had to take the chance. "Come on!" she urged herself, stepping forward, uneasy but resolute. Suddenly, the laughter of children pierced the silence, ethereal and haunting. A chorus of voices, innocent yet twisted, rippled through the air, echoing off the walls. "Join us, join the fun!" The whispers filled the space where Jamie stood, sinking into her mind like poison. "Get out of my head!" Jamie shouted, clenching her fists as flashes of their faces, her friends, lost to the shadows, flashed before her. She could almost feel their warm hands, hear their laughter mingling with the darkness. Letting the weight of her memories wash over her, Jamie took a deep breath, refusing to give in. This isn't real. You want to keep me. She pressed onward, determined to carve her own future. The path twisted, spiraling forward, and before long, she burst into what appeared to be a classroom. But this wasn't an ordinary room, it was a macabre gallery of experiences, a graveyard of memories, with walls covered in drawings of fear, laughter, and unimaginable horror. Jamie's breath hitched as she recognized the art the children trapped here, portrayed in joy and despair. They were just playing, she murmured, the truth washing over her like icy water. But now they're lost. No. The shadows loomed behind her, roiling with rage, desperate to reclaim their hold on her mind. They are yours now. The shadows lunged, claws reaching out to snatch her back into their maw, but Jamie found herself unyielding, anchored by the memories of her friends. Mike. Sarah. She called out, voice ringing with urgency. She could feel them. They were still here, threading through the darkness. We're not done yet. As if summoned by her words, a figure dashed forth from the shadows, Mike's familiar face breaking through. Jamie. He shouted, despair etched into his features. Mike. She reached for him, but the separation between them felt insurmountable. Where's Sarah? She's here. She's fighting. He urged, his face twisted in determination. We just have to hold on. You have to pull us in. The shadows around Mike warped angrily, twisting like a storm. Jamie's resolve hardened, she wouldn't lose him too. Together, remember? We'll do this together. Gripping the paper scrap tightly, she focused on the light it radiated. Come on. Feel it. We're stronger than this. She shouted, pouring everything she had into the glow. The shadows recoiled, hissing as the brightness flared, and in a whirlwind, Jamie felt the energy pulse back into her. She could see more now, hidden paths radiating like veins from the heart of the classroom. Follow the light. Jamie shouted, the words bursting forth with newfound power. Together. Without hesitation, she surged toward Mike, both of them reaching out, fingers brushing until they grasped each other's hands firmly. A jolt of electricity sparked between them, the power of shared determination ignited as Jamie felt Sarah's presence drawn to them like a moth to a flame. Now, Sarah. Grab on. Jamie cried as the shadows surged forward, desperate to snuff out their bond. I can't see. Sarah's voice trembled, panic rising. Just trust us. Mike encouraged, pulling her into their embrace amidst the encroaching darkness. We're right here. In an instant that felt like eternity, the three of them formed a circle, each heartbeat synchronizing, an anchoring rhythm against the chaos. With a final shout of defiance, Jamie focused all her will into the glowing piece of paper. We will not be taken. Not today. It erupted, bathing them in warm light that pierced the darkness and forced it to retreat. Cracks in the tunnel walls flared with the light, revealing 1,000 broken spirits behind, lost yet yearning for freedom. As the vibrant colors radiated outward, Jamie felt the surge of strength from every child they would save, channeling through their resolve like a lifeblood. And then, in a blinding flash, they burst forth, blasting past the threshold of shadows that clung to them like a vice. The air shifted, the darkness fading behind, and they stumbled into the light, a world vibrant and painfully real. Echo Ridge High stood ahead, its gates swung open, bathing them in sunlight, a stark contrast to the horrors they had known. In the warm embrace of brightness, Jamie turned to her friends. Relief washed over her, potent and bittersweet. We did it, she gasped, tears of joy streaming down her cheeks. We're free. Mike and Sarah exchanged long looks, the tension of the past tense still hanging heavy. But we have to remember them, Mike said solemnly, piercing the weight of their shared silence. Those kids, they're still out there. Jamie nodded, resolve hardening in her chest. We'll come back. We owe it to them. With the sun now blazing overhead, they stepped forward, hand in hand, united against the memories that lurked just beyond their connection. Together, they turned their backs on Echo Ridge High, friends united, ready to honor those lost and to fight against the darkness that haunted every high school hallway. But she knew deep down one part of the heart would always stay behind, a flicker of flame in the memories of a place that would never truly let go. As they walked away into the daylight, hope ignited anew. Together, they would shine. Now, this is where you come in. You need to subscribe now so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash the like button for the algorithm, it really makes a difference. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about the ending. What do you think will happen next? And wait even one more second to share this story with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Show your support, only true fans understand how crucial it is.